afternoon, everybody. This is Nidal Hayka, your host for today. This is my second season of Nidal Hayka Live, and it's the first episode with a wonderful, amazing, and a specialized expert. I'm going to introduce her in a second. My guest, she is a therapist, a speaker, author, mental health counselor. Her name is Mandy Morris, and she's joining us live to talk about all the struggles we are going through after the COVID 19. Let's all welcome Mandy Morris.
Hi,
Hello, Mandy.
it's so great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mandy, for being with us. It means the world to me, your support. And definitely, we have a lot to talk about today, especially
Yes.
we have big challenges after a year of COVID 19 and all the
Mhm.
struggle and anxiety.
Yep.
Um, Mandy, your work frame is so wide, and you are expert certified in. Let me brief it any way I understand it in mental and emotional health.
Yes.
And
Yes.
under this big title, there's a lot of subtitles.
Sure. Yeah.
My first question is, Mandy, did you get busier after COVID 19?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I would say that when the shutdown first happened in March of last year, there was like 2 weeks there where like everyone was canceling and all of this stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is this going to mean? I think everyone was trying to figure out what to do. Like now their kids are at home and they were unsure about their job and all this stuff. But then like after that, I mean, there's just not enough space for all the people. I mean, it's business definitely went up, I mean is good and it's sad and so I know for myself I've just been between trying to open up more time and also getting people in with other referrals to just get people the help that they need. But therapists are very I think everyone has full cases right now because of how much support people are needing. This has been one of the most historically devastating times that we've all been through. And I mean, I've never been through a pandemic before, and so it's just been a lot for everyone.
And this is brings my next question. Do you think we all aware of our mental health, and
Mm,
how important is this awareness?
yeah,
As an expert.
that's a great question because I don't think that well it takes intention for people to be able to be aware of their mental health. If you're just going and you're in survival mode, which a lot of us have been throughout the pandemic, you're trying to survive the situation. There's not a whole lot of time to stop and check and think, well, how am I really doing? Because you're just trying to get through, right? And so I think maybe I would say initially at the start of it, there was maybe less awareness about how all this is affecting everybody mentally and emotionally. Now that we're like a year out from it, I think people are really starting to see the side effects of how this has impacted all of us. I know a lot more people are noticing that their anxiety has been up, or they're experiencing more depression than normal. They're having a lot of health anxiety, or they're going through grief from all the loss that's happened. And if um, you're not aware of what's going on with you, this is a good time to kind of reflect on how have you really been doing. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just fine, I'm making it through. But so much change has happened that from a neurological standpoint, that affects our brain and our processing and our emotions.
And
And
emotions.
so, yeah, and so there's no way to be unscathed by what's happened in the world. It's just part of the human condition. And so I think if people can maybe put down any stigma that they have around it and just be honest with themselves, and they'll be able to really kind of check in about how they how their mental health and emotional well-being is.
I think, as you're saying, if we get more closer to be honest with ourselves,
Yeah.
we could unleash that we need a mental treatment,
Yeah.
because sometimes we lie to ourselves, like
Yeah.
we are doing great, and
Yeah.
and we are not, simply we
Right.
are not. I
Yeah.
think the pandemic, what we all went through, this dark tunnel,
Hmm.
is we tried to depend on ourselves to light up
Hmm.
our paths,
Yeah.
and we wasn't prepared, and we figured, like, at a certain point, yeah, we are not doing good.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that we are literally in our brain, we are wired for connection. And so when all of this happened and we couldn't be around the people that we love and there was that disconnect, I mean, the toll that that takes on us mentally and even physically is very profound. And at the same time, there's sort of this, universal feeling of I, you know, I need to have it all together. If I don't, that shows weakness and things like that. But the reality is that we need other people for healing. We need people to help us when we need help. Saying that I love is that healthy people ask for help. But then that makes it difficult because we can't be around people. So we're having to find creative ways to still connect and still get the support that we need. This isn't a getting help or asking for support isn't a strong or weak thing. It just is. And I think being able to lean into that with compassion for yourself and for other people is important.
This is one of the tools you teach, and you use with persons you are dealing with,
Mhm.
to heal, as a part
Yeah.
of the treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
What our other tools? Because in your bio, you mentioned that you help you help individuals to live an abundant life
Yeah.
through tools. Uh,
Sure.
but would you please share with us what's the secret recipe of Mandy as to what
Oh
how
goodness,
to do it?
man. How long do you have? Because no, it's different for everybody. It's, you know, when I am treating someone or helping them, it's a very individualized thing because there's no one person alike, right? So keep that in mind as I share some of these tools, that these are just some starting steps, if you will. But the important thing is to really dig into what's really going on with you. So one of the foundations, though, of kind of figuring out what someone needs to live more abundant and be more free is figuring out what they're believing about themselves. We operate out of our belief systems, and a lot of times we aren't consciously aware of the belief systems that have been created in the hardwiring of our brain. So, you know, some unhelpful um, belief systems that are common would be like the feeling of I'm not good enough, the feeling of I'm not important, or I'm not lovable, or maybe it's the feeling of I'm powerless, I don't have control, I'm trapped. Could be the feeling of I'm not safe, or I don't know how to protect myself, or that I'm responsible for everything. Like, so those are just some kind of generic ones. I know for myself, in my own work, a lot of what was driving my emotions and driving my behavior was the belief that I'm not important. And if I'm not important, then I'm not lovable. And so those beliefs, I had to really kind of dig down to them and start to reflect on where did they come from? When did I first start feeling this way? And then from there, do some work around that. It looked like you may have had a question.
Yeah, I wanna. You had this feeling regarding your profession, your whole life, your contribution, to people you love. Because
Right. Yeah, so this started when I was little. I didn't realize I held this negative belief
Oh,
until I noticed as more of an adult that I had a lot of anxiety. I got caught up in people pleasing behaviors, things like that. And so then as I began to do my own work, I realized that, I was believing something about myself that was never true to begin with. So people in the pandemic, it's like normal to have this feeling of I'm not safe, this feeling of I can't protect myself. It's this unseen virus, or now I'm responsible for everything, and while those feelings are very real and valid, the reality is that, there are things that you can do to protect yourself, that you're only responsible for what you have control over, that you can put things in place to make you safe. So when you're operating out of the negative belief, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's, maybe that then turns into certain unhealthy coping behaviors like drinking too much, or, making unhealthy choices, or it might look like,
it's
disconnection and isolating. Yeah. What did you say?
escaping from the real problem,
Right,
right?
right. Versus if you're operating of, okay, I know how to protect myself. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z things. I'm going to put this in place. I'm going to make sure I connect to these people, And so it's just a different way of operating. So I usually encourage people to look at that belief. What is it about yourself you're believing? And then from there, it's being able to put language to your emotions. That is so important because we have these feelings and we don't know what they are. One of my favorite authors, researchers, Brene Brown, she did a study that came out a while back, and it was just to kind of assess people's emotional intelligence. And so, what do people know about the emotions they experience, and can they put words to it? And gosh, I don't remember the numbers. I know it was like thousands and thousands of people that did the study. And the average of emotions that people knew of that they experienced themselves was only three. It was anger, sadness, and happiness, something like that. But in reality, we experience a wide range of emotions. We feel disappointment, we feel resentment, we feel, fear, anxiety, jealousy, happiness, joy, gratefulness. There's a wide range of it. And so the more you can start to explore and educate yourself on emotions and then be able to put a language to it, you're going to be able to move through it. Our emotions are signals that go off in our brain about something that's happening. I encourage people to look at emotional responses as data,
Yeah.
not a directive. Not a directive to, because I'm angry now, I just lash out. No, like to stop and observe the feeling. Observe it, put a pause on it, and put a name to it. So you get this tension. Oh, that's anxiety. Okay. Before I start, compulsively eating, or I start doing, this
Thinking.
obsessive thing. Yeah, exactly. Let me just sit with it for a second. Where do I feel it in my body? What is this emotion telling me that I need? Our emotions are good indicators of needs. And then from there, you have to let yourself find a way to express it and move through it. So when emotion gets activated, you're now, especially if it's a negative emotion, you're then in a stress response cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when that happens, the limbic system is where our emotions are housed. That gets lit up in our brain. And then from there, it goes into our nervous system. Our nervous system is circuitry that goes from the top of our head to the tips of our toes. And so when we don't process emotions, they stay stuck in our body. That's why a lot of people will carry their emotional stress in their shoulders or in their
And
back or in
if
their gut.
if I may ask, what do you mean by processing emotions?
Yeah. So being able to be curious about them and why they're happening. Okay. And so you're going to try to have understanding about why you're feeling the way you're feeling them, so that you're not just reacting off of the day. You're being curious about it. and trying to understand, because if you don't, then you can't get into problem solving mode.
Do we store emotions? Like, does it build up
Yes.
inside us?
Yes, we do. There's a great book called The Body Keeps Score. And it's all the science around how, trauma, um, unprocessed, difficult experiences, how the emotions around that, when it goes unprocessed or unresolved, it stays stored somewhere in our body. If you just think of it, emotions are like an energy
Yes.
that in our body, and if they don't get released through talking it out, through therapy, through writing it out, through your faith, through whatever it may be that helps you have an understanding, get into problem solving mode about it, then you don't get a release from it. That might get stored anywhere. It could get stored in your toe. It could get stored in your gut, in your head, and you'll know you've gone through your stress cycle when your body literally feels an element of relief. That's why having a good cry sometimes, and you feel better afterwards, because you got the emotional release out.
Emotion released, yes.
Right. And so there's lots of ways to do that. But if you keep stuffing your emotions inside, pushing them under the rug, then that's when people find there's a lot of health issues. And so because there's such a profound mind-body connection.
And it might develop to a more complex
Yeah.
situation.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Mandy, uh, uh, if you don't mind asking this, I don't want to look so stupid. What's the difference between mental and emotional disorder?
Sure. I mean, they're pretty similar. They can go hand in hand. Um, um, More of mental tends to refer towards cognitive.
Mhm.
So like the thinking part of our brain. So people can have skewed or disordered thinking around things. Like if you're someone who has a habit of negative thinking, you're going to be more prone to depression. For people who have a habit of worry and worst case scenarios, you're going to be more prone to anxiety issues, right? But our thoughts and our feelings and our behavior, they all have a relationship to each other. So when you think something, it makes you feel a certain way, that then makes you act
Right.
a certain
Yeah.
way, or, if you're behaving one way, you can track that back to a feeling and a thought. And so the emotional disorders, that usually connected to your mood. It's usually connected to, the how much you are good at expressing or not expressing feelings. But mental health disorders in general, that is the combination of both of them. So you can't have a disordered negative thinking without having an emotional issue attached to it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And solving one part can solve the other,
Mhm.
or no. Like
Yeah,
if you work on treating us emotionally to heal, does
yeah.
this makes our mental health better?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
already.
It's always a trickle effect, and that's why even doing basic stuff like taking care of your body, watching what food you put into you, and noticing how that food makes you feel, you know, um, doing simple stuff like with hygiene and exercise, because there's a mind body connection, that is actually going to help improve your mental and emotional health. And when we improve our mental emotional health, that actually helps our body. So
It's
you
a it's a
it's a
cycle. Yeah.
cyclical effect. Yeah, absolutely. But usually to get the best fullest holistic approach is you treat all of it.
I see. Mandy, I know you are anger management license certified, right?
Yeah, I'm a anger management certified specialist. Yes.
Can anger be controlled? And
Absolutely.
is it healthy to control our anger? Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
what
So
what will you give us tips on
yeah, so
anger?
one thing I want to say about anger, well, like with all of our emotions, they're normal. Everyone gets angry. This is not about not being angry. Anger is actually a really important emotion. It lets you know when a boundary needs to be set. It lets you know when an injustice has happened. It's, again, emotions are data. You're never wrong for how you feel, but then what you do with that is important. So, as an anger management specialist, I will, of course, get a lot of like court ordered people for anger management issues and things like that. And I love working with people with anger issues, because then what I find is that, anger is the thing that keeps them in control, the thing that makes them feel powerful. But in reality, there's probably a lot of insecurities about themselves, or maybe even some depression going on. Because especially in men, because men have more testosterone, their depression can look like anger more often than not, when really, in fact, they are more depressed. And so, but with that, I like to view anger as a good source of energy. Okay, so it does. If you ever felt anger before, you feel that surge of energy that comes over you. You feel the physical, visceral response. You can tell it in some people, like their face gets red. For me, if I'm mad, like I get sweaty, things like
You're
that.
sweaty now? No.
No, not sweaty right now. No. I wouldn't tell you if I was anyway. I'm just kidding. Or, people's heart rate will go up and things like that. And so with anger, I really like to educate people on what's happening physiologically. Because when we get mad, what happens is all the blood goes from your core, so the center of your body, to your extremities, so to your arms and your legs. That's why it feels good to like throw things or to kick things or to yell, But what's happening in the brain is that all the blood is rushing from this frontal part where we do all of our rational thinking and decision making, and it's coming back to this back part down in the lower level functioning part of our brain. So that's why people will like do and say a lot of things that they regret later. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's because I was so mad. Because we don't have the ability to think clear when we're angry. And so one of the first things that I work on with people is to begin to become aware and get control of their physiological responses to anger and hit the pause button. So because you have extra energy now, it's like, well, let me back up. One of my number one rules with anger is that when you're feeling your anger, that is not the time to solve the problem. It's not the time to be talking with whoever you're angry with. That you have to come back to that. If you don't want to say or do something you might end up regretting, put a pin in it. You want to come back to it once you feel that blood flow return to center, and you feel like you're back in control of your thoughts again and your feelings. And so for people to get to that point, there's lots of things you can do. You can go on a run, you can go blow off some steam by, working on that project in the garage or doing something outside. Or for me, it takes a lot to really get me mad. So when someone does, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go clean. And it's like when I finally get to clean and organize things, and then from there, do some meditation, some relaxation, try to get yourself centered, and then come back to the conversation. And when you know why that anger is important, because it lets you know of an injustice, or it lets you know of a boundary that needs to be set, then you can be like, okay, what do I need to communicate? Maybe someone was just yelling at you or being disrespectful and it made you mad. That means that you have to have a boundary with that person about what you do and don't allow in terms of like how they can talk to you and treat you. Maybe it's because, that there was some sort of injustice there's been lots of injustices in our world over the news in the past year, that lets you know what's important to you and what you value. And so from there, what do you want to do about that in a constructive and healthy way? And so when you can begin to view the emotion as a good source of energy and as data, then you can kind of figure out what to do with it. For a lot of people, what gets in the way is that they have unhealthy reactions to their anger instead of having a healthy response to their anger. And that's the big difference.
So it's not a shame to feel angry.
Not at all.
It's natural.
It's natural.
But the problem is how we express this anger, right?
Absolutely.
And this can be, we can get trained for controlling this anger.
Absolutely. 100%.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yep.
Mandy, what concerns me these days is, kids. And the going generation. I have two kids, and they spent the last year home.
Right.
Uh, Definitely, their emotional and mental health is different a year before, where they
Oh yeah.
go out, talk to friends. They are in their new world now, which is
Hmm.
all digital. What would you tell us and direct us to embrace this, generations, to
Hmm.
improve their mental health and their emotional health for the future?
Yeah, now that's a great question. And, especially depending on the age of the kids, they may not be able to articulate well what is going on inside of them.
But
It,
we should be aware, right, that there might
Mhm.
be necessity to
Absolutely.
act. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're feeling it, they're feeling it. And we have to keep in perspective too, like what might seem like a big deal to us may not be a big deal to them. What we think is not a big deal for them may be a huge deal. Like for instance, so many kids, they didn't get to play in their first soccer game. They didn't get to, go to that function that they had been looking forward to. Like a lot of our seniors, this past year, they didn't get to do those senior things. And so and you might be trying to find enough money for rent that month or something, and you're like, well, it's not a big deal, I gotta think about rent, but we don't want to get into comparative suffering with our kids, where we start to compare their pain to ours or the bigger picture. You want to acknowledge their grief that they're feeling and be checking in with them about that. If they are didn't get to do a lot of things that they normally would have done. You want to be able to acknowledge that, because maybe they're not wanting to say things because they don't want to add any more stress or pressure to you. But this might be really bothering them. And so as the adult, it's our job to be checking on our kids and our youth and being like, hey, I know you didn't get to do this and this, and how are you feeling about that?
It's good. It's good to initiate the
It's
approach.
good to initiate. Yeah. Yeah. Especially because a lot of times kids don't want to upset their parents, or they don't want to, add more stress, or they may not even be knowing how they're feeling. Or, you might be able to say something like, hey, I know, the news was on the other night and there was a lot more talk about of COVID. And I just wanted to check in to see what your thoughts have been about this lately. And so, because they're not saying something doesn't mean they're not thinking about it. And then you want to like periodically revisit these conversations with them. It's not talk to them once about it and they say they're fine, so that means that they're fine. You, as the adult, you want to keep revisiting. Like maybe a couple weeks have gone by. Hey, what's been on your mind about COVID lately? How are you feeling about it? And I know that this was another loss, and I just wanted to check in, and also be aware too that kids' emotional wellness and how they're feeling will come out in other ways. So, especially for younger kids who may be sane and seeming like they're fine, but they're having a lot of stomach issues, or they're having sleep problems now, or things like that. For a lot of kids, their anxiety and stress will show up in physical ways. And so if you notice that, being able to obviously tend to it if it's a medical issue, but also be curious about what could be going on mentally and emotionally with them as well. Because again, mind-body connection, it's the same for kids also. And then just creating safe spaces and boundaries. Like I encourage people to have time where like, all right, dinner time, we're not talking about COVID. We're not talking about the pandemic.
We're not having the tablets on the
Yeah, we're
table.
not going to be on the tablets. We're going to put that away, and so that there's a sense of normalcy that can be created. And making sure you're educating the kids on what are healthy resources to get information from, because not all social media is a healthy resource for, what's really happening with the news in our world, and so I tell families, let everyone have like two very valid scientific resources, like the CDC and like one other thing where you get your news from, and then everything else, don't get your news from that. And so having some good boundaries around that as well is important. So those are just a few things that I think is key to help parents be aware of. One other quick tip is making sure that you and your family establish routine. So because everything is so unpredictable and uncertain in the world, that's going to make your mind go again, like back into survival mode, back into fight or flight system part of the brain, because it doesn't feel predictable and safe. So if you can create some sort of routine, like, okay, this is the room where you do your homework, this is the room where I do my work, these are the time frames, this middle area is where we, can have fun. You try to have meals around the same time every day, try to still keep with a consistent bedtime. That sort of structure is going to create safety for yourself and your kids, and also for how you're processing all the uncertainty. Like, all this stuff may be out of our control and unknown, but I know that this is my routine for the day. It can be really helpful in that way.
So, do you think we should I don't want to say get scared, but do you think they are in a good shape for the future?
I absolutely. I mean, this is not the first time our world's been through a pandemic.
Mhm.
There's lots of pandemics throughout history. We are all survivors. We are all resilient. I do believe as a collective we will get through this. But it's going to be how much suffering along the way. And so I think we can minimize suffering by doing the healthy things, by reaching out for support, by being vulnerable and open with each other. One of my favorite quotes is, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So
Wow,
this is a painful process, but how we take control of our thoughts, and and the way we treat ourselves in our own thoughts, and the way we treat others. I mean, these little things are going to add suffering to the already pain, or they're not. So by leaning into helping other people, letting them help us in really practical ways and also in emotional ways, is going to be really important. And now there's resources that are more available than ever. There's obviously therapists are doing therapy online, so we can help people all over. Psychiatrists, doctors, like they're doing things to be able to accommodate people because of what's going on in our world. And so there are resources out there. I think it's a time for everyone to be honest about, what do you need with what you're going through, because what you're going through is going to be different than what everyone else is going through. I mean, we're all under the same umbrella of COVID, but everyone's life circumstances look different. And so if you can be open to looking at your life with an honest and compassionate lens, then you can look for, well, what do I need so that I don't have to suffer any more than what's already going on in our world.
that's a great advice. Great advice. Mandy, you are the co-owner and co-clinical director of Mosaic Counseling Group.
Yes.
Uh, Me personally, I loved the name,
Thank you.
and I told you I was looking to see what's the definition of it.
Yeah.
I know what does it mean. We have a couple pieces here,
Yeah.
but I love the definition that it's building a whole picture or a
Mhm.
pattern from small pieces put all together.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
means a lot. I'm not gonna say anything about it. Your platform. Please tell us what does it mean, and what type of counseling you offer.
Sure. So yeah, coming up with our private practice name was like this big daunting thing, because it had to be
It's
just right.
genius, by the way. The name is genius.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And so the name Mosaic came up, and it was just so perfect, because a mosaic, if you've ever made them or you're having artwork with them, they're broken pieces
Yeah,
that get made into something beautiful. And that's like what therapy is for us, that we take these broken pieces, we help people make sense of them, and then create something beautiful with it. It's just such good imagery for what the therapy process is like. And then for all of us who had started the practice, it was meaningful to us as well, in terms of we all came from different backgrounds, different stages of life,
Diversity.
and very diverse in that way. So we felt like a mosaic, and but all of us together made this beautiful picture of this counseling group that we wanted. And so, yeah, that's the meaning of that. And we do lots of different types of therapy, from treating anxiety, depression, to working with couples, to anger management, to trauma. We have a wide range for sure that we do. And on my other website, mandythetherapist.com, I also offer different programs, like 30-day programs for people, that you get unlimited coaching and therapy from me, as well as different resources to get you to where you want to be in 90 days.
Is
And
it a one-on-one coaching, or it's a
yeah, so it's coaching and therapy. And so one of the ones I have right now is a 30-day program for people who are trying to break out or heal from toxic relationships. And so essentially you get access to me for the 30 days, and we go through a whole treatment plan, and you get lots of resources from me. In that, there's a lot of things that you get. You get access to the private Facebook group, you get access to resources, you get access to this XXO Connect community that I'm partnered with, where you get to view my master classes and everyone else's master classes that are there. And so I take you, I'm offering what I wanted when I was in an abusive relationship. If any of you who have heard my story or haven't heard my story, it's out there in a lot of my videos, that I was in a 7-year marriage with a man who had a narcissistic personality disorder. I didn't know that at the time. And what I really would have wanted was someone to like hold my hand through the process to come out of it, and to be healthy again. And so that's why I've developed this one, is to really help people in those situations. But I also offer 30-day programs for really anyone who is wanting to make a big change in their life and needs someone to help guide them through that process.
and rather than you are an expert, who else took your hand out of your let's say trauma after 7 years?
Yeah. Wow. My therapist at the time, my friends, a few core friends who were that voice of truth, that if I had never shared with them about what was going on, like one of the bravest things I ever did was to share about what was going on, and then to allow people who I know I could trust to help me, and my family, and my faith. Like, there's just so many components to it, that as I had the courage to be honest about what was going on, and not keep it a secret anymore, that's when change happened. That's when things started to shift. And it was hard, but I had people there to help me through that process.
But the foundation was you, right?
Yeah.
And this is the base stone we have to rely on if we are looking for better life approaches, right?
Yep, absolutely.
um, Mandy, I was looking to your post the other day. By the way, you didn't announce the title winner of your masterclass,
I
right?
know. I'm going to announce it soon. It's coming either today
Oh,
or
okay.
tomorrow. Yep, I'm about to announce it soon.
Did I win? No.
I don't know.
That's professionalism.
You'll have to tune in to
I
see.
have to wait. I have the feeling I didn't.
They were all very close. I'm actually still tallying the numbers, because across all my platforms, I'm so many people have like made suggestions. So I'm finalizing the numbers, and by tomorrow there will be an announcement.
Amazing. Good luck for the new masterclass.
Thank you.
I was looking for your post and your latest video about curiosity.
Yeah.
It caught my eye because we've been raised differently from
Right.
this superhero power,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You encourages us to be curious, to learn more, and to be better, right?
Yep.
But we've learned that curiosity kills the cat.
Yeah.
Right. What do you tell us about pivoting our mindset for we don't have to carry over the years let me say it, between brackets, stupid stuff that it's not helpful in our life.
Right.
We need stuff that encourages us to learn, to engage, and to connect, and to help ourselves and others, because we are human beings by the end of
Yes.
the day.
Yep.
So, would you please tell us about
Yeah.
how we can
So
put our minds?
yeah, so I am a firm believer that curiosity is a superpower that we all have in us. And so what this means is it's really to replace judgment about yourself, judgment about others, replace it with curiosity. You know, if I become judgmental over the fact that I'm angry and now I have shame about it, that's not helpful. But if I can be curious, I'm angry. I wonder what that's about. Now you can begin to understand, like we just talked about on this live, about understanding your emotions.
It's a good start to ask why. Yeah.
Right. Ask why, instead of, I can't believe that person. I can't believe that they've done this and this and this or whatever. You can be curious. Oh, I wonder what that's about with them. Because you holding on to resentment about things you don't have control over with other people doesn't hurt them. That hurts you, you know? And so like leaning into things with curiosity, because curiosity helps you connect to your empathy. It allows you to be more mindful of what's going on in your own mind or in your world or in the world of others, and it really creates good leaders. People who are willing to ask questions are always growing. When we stop asking questions, when we stop being curious, we stay stunted in just what we know instead of the vast things that are out there in the world. And so that's where I really believe that curiosity is a superpower.
Me too.
Awesome.
Mandy, you work with individuals and leaders, families.
Yes.
How healthy our leaders? I'm not. I'm not asking politically.
Sure. Yeah. I think that leaders in general, they hold a lot of weight of responsibility on their shoulders. They are the ones who've gotten to the leadership because they've worked their butt off. They've they have a lot on their plate. And one of the things that I'm finding in the work I've done with various leaders, CEOs, business people, even this past year, who are finding that they're having their first panic attack. They're dealing with a lot of anxiety. Is this belief that because they're a leader and people look up to them, they have to be the person who has it all together. And that belief isn't helpful, and it's only going to hurt themselves and their leadership ability. But when
That's
leaders
drain them.
Yeah, absolutely. And because there's no such thing as, we aren't Superman and Superwoman, and so
They don't exist. Yeah.
when leaders can model what it's like to have healthy boundaries, when leaders can model that it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to tell an employee something that they need for themselves that could help, and to have conversation around vulnerability and around authenticity and around mental and emotional topics, they are going to feel better, and they're actually going to have a healthier system in place. So I'm really encouraging leaders to put down the armor, the protective armor of I got to have it all together, put that away, and
Be a regular human, right?
Yeah, you're human. And the more you can be human with your employees, the more trust you're going to gain from them. And when that happens, you're going to have a more cohesive team. So really helping leaders kind of revamp the way they think about stuff like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mandy, you are on more than one social media platform.
Yeah.
I was counting them: Insta, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you have your own website.
Yep. And I have TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mandy's therapy tips. Yeah.
You should post from TikTok and LinkedIn like everybody's doing?
Yeah, I will. I had been. I'm not as consistent with TikTok. For a while there I was sharing a lot of my TikTok videos on LinkedIn, but I'll get back to doing that for sure. But yeah, and you can find all of those social media platforms on mandythetherapist.com. At the top it has all the icons. And you can also check out my I'm a contributing author to an international best-selling book as well. So for all the self-healers out there, that's a good book for you.
Amazing. How do you address the powers of social media and other meaning? Why Mandy Morris is on social media?
My heart at the beginning of this, I started having a social media presence about 2 years ago. And I made a deal with myself, because I know how I am, that if I was going to do this, my goal was to help more people at once, to reach the masses. That was my heart. But if I was going to do this, because I'm a human being and I can get caught up in the likes and the follows and all of that stuff, that no matter how many likes I did or didn't get, that wasn't going to be my focus. My focus was writing from my heart. And if I didn't post something that didn't create a feeling within myself, then I wouldn't post it, because I wanted to be truly pieces of my heart coming out to the world in hopes to help them. So that was why I did it. And to be able to let people know about the resources that I have available, so that people connected with me, that they might be able to find a program that could help them with what they're going through.
Is there future projects you're working on?
Yeah. So yeah, my new project that I'll be releasing the name for, that I was just telling you about, for the people, the 90-day program. That's
Which
my
is
new
I'm
one.
not a winner. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, right when I announced the winner. That's a new one that I'm coming out with soon. I also have some collaborations with the xxoconnect.com community. They're a community that promotes healthy relationships to self. And I encourage people to check them out as well, because you get access for like a really low monthly fee. You get access to so many masterclasses that I'm a part of and things like that. And I'm also going to be working on some other courses in the near future, like how to start up a private practice. I'm going to be working on different self-healing courses as well. And really anyone who's looking for any significant change in their life, and in a 90-day period, you can contact me through my website, because I'm able to customize my programs for what you need. And that can be a really inspiring and helpful resource for people.
Before I ask my last question, would you like to share with us anything on the platform?
Yeah. So
I still have one question. Yeah.
okay. Just kind of like something I'd like to share with everyone watching.
Yes.
Sure. The thing that comes to mind is I just encourage people to have the courage to be themselves. Like, we need more people who are willing to like believe in themselves again. There's like, Nidal, there's no person in the world out there like you. There's no person in the world out there like me. Like, I would be a lousy you. You would be a lousy me. Like, we need more people to just put down the shame, put down trying to be small, put down their ego, because they, like, to just be able to lean into looking at yourself in a compassionate way, and that you have a lot to offer. Because you do, no matter what your story is or your road is, there's no one like you. Therefore, you need to just be yourself.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my last question is: are you optimistic about our mental and emotional health?
That feels like a tricky question. I
Yeah.
am. No, not really. I am, in the sense that I think the stigma is being broken more. I
Yeah.
feel like people are realizing that going to a therapist or working on your mental health is just like going to the gym or going to the doctor. I really believe, I'm optimistic about that. I'm also noticing, though, in this past year, because of the pandemic, the numbers of mental health issues have risen. And so my hope is that since the stigma is going down, that more and more people are going to be able to start taking care of their mental health in a way that they need to, that they don't feel like going to the therapist is this means that you're crazy, or there's this like inherently flawed thing about you. That is just something that people do so that they can be healthy. And so yes and no to that question, but I am always optimistic, and just the warm feedback that I've gotten from people from my mental health pages makes me feel really optimistic about people being more open to mental health in general.
This is exactly what I was expecting to hear. There is no guarantee when it comes to mental, and
Yeah,
we didn't design the whole past year.
right.
Just we met it
Hmm.
without any meeting, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's very important if we be optimistic anyway. It's gonna lift our mental and emotional feelings.
yeah,
Mandy, it's almost an hour. It's an amazing episode. Thank you very
yeah.
much for being.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
And I'll see. Today you're gonna announce the class, or tomorrow. The name,
Um,
the name of the group.
I'm probably tomorrow. I think I'm going to do it the big Friday announcement.
I always follow you, so I'll be the first to know.
That's right. That's right.
Uh,
Stay
thank you,
tuned.
thank you again, Mandy, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Um,
Likewise.
and enjoy your coming weekend.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So this was Mandy Morris, my first guest within the season 2 of Nidal Hayka Live. I was your host for today, and Mandy is an amazing expert, and also I want to thank her for being with us today. And we need a lot of persons like Mandy to live our life in a better approach. Especially, we are going through a lot these days, and the challenges are high. But we are all human. We are resilient, and we can all pass through this together. Thank you again, Mandy Morris, the therapist, speaker, author, mental health and emotional counselor. Um, Also, on another note, I want to wish everybody, as we are going through the blessed month of Ramadan, I want to wish everybody healthy and blessed days. And let's take advantage of this month to eliminate our differences and to live all more peacefully. I'm so glad that I start my season 2 of the show, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes with amazing guests like our guest today, Mandy Morris, and all the other guests I have hosted. This was Nidal Haykal.